Well, hello there and greetings everybody. Welcome to the Eden Audio YouTube channel. And today I've got something that I've actually had here for probably coming up to 2 months now. It's not very good. I haven't told you about it, isn't it? And the product I've got for you is from a brand who go by the name of XTONEBOX. Now, when you hear the name XTONEBOX, you might think it's something from Microsoft because it sounds remarkably like an Xbox. But I can assure you, XTONEBOX have absolutely nothing at all, thank goodness, to do with Microsoft. In fact, XTONEBOX are based in Europe. They actually are based in Spain. To be more precise, they're actually based in Galicia, which is in the northern part of Spain. Whereas where I used to live in Spain, I used to live right down the bottom, in southern Spain in Andalusia. But XTONEBOX are based right up there in the most northern part of Spain, which is called Galicia. And XTONEBOX are known for making retro-looking audio gear. They actually started off making pro audio products for guitar players, guitar amplifiers. As I say, they've got this lovely design to them where they have this sort of vintage retro look to their products. But over the last few years, XTONEBOX have actually turned their hand to the audio hi-fi market. If you look back at some of my previous uploads, you would have noticed that I used some XTONEBOX products in those videos. One of those products was the 611 stereo amplifier. It was a Class D based amplifier that also had Bluetooth and a valve based phono stage. But one of the latest products from XTONEBOX is actually a moving magnet phono stage. It is purely moving magnet. There's no MC stage on this phono stage at all, and it is also not adjustable. Now for some, that may be a deal breaker. But for me personally, it's not such a big problem. It might sound a little bit expensive for a basic entry level, well not entry level, but it might sound basic for a phono stage that 1 is not adjustable and 2 is MM only. But as I'll explain a little bit later, don't get put off by its basic functionality. Oh, hang on a minute, I think I just forgot something vitally important. What have I forgot? I forgot the B-roll. So let's just stop the video there for a minute. Let's have a look at some B-roll, shall we? Let's take a look at the XTONEBOX 60p moving magnet valve-based phono stage. Come on, let's have a look. The XTONEBOX 60SP is a stereo tube phono preamplifier. It features Class A preamplification. It's mainly designed for moving magnet cartridges, but moving coil cartridges are also available upon request. The preamp tubes are 2 ECC 83s and 1 ECC 82. On the rear we will find 1 RCA input and 1 RCA output. Output impedance is 420 ohms. Input impedance is 47k ohms. The gain is 52 decibels. The frequency response is 20 Hz by 20 kHz. The dimensions, height by width by depth, are 11 by 12 by 32. And the weight is just 1.2 kilograms. What makes a good hi-fi product for you? I know what makes a good hi-fi product for me. For me, a simple test that I do to judge whether a hi-fi product is very good, average or not worth my attention is how it interacts with the rest of the hi-fi system. Does it elevate the performance of the rest of the hi-fi system, or does it sound basically the same as how we remember it? Because if it doesn't sound any better, or it sounds basically the same, It's not worth our time in buying that product. Now, when it comes to the XTONEBOX 60p, it does have that magical trick up its sleeve. And that magical trick is that it boosts the performance of the turntable that it's connected to. Now, here at Eden Audio, I don't have a vast selection of turntables because, to me, I think turntables are becoming... I think they're becoming a little bit left behind, to be honest with you. I think the price of vinyl has now become quite expensive for a new piece of vinyl. And I think a lot of audiophiles are focusing their attention more on streaming kind of services. But I'm digressing a little bit here. Let's get back to the turntable that I'm using. The turntable I'm using is an entry-level product from the German brand Dual, and it's the CS440. Now, even though it's an entry-level turntable, and sometimes the controls of it and the arm on it may look a little bit plasticky, it's still a pretty decent entry-level turntable. However, once you put in that 60p from the XTONEBOX, what a difference you're going to notice in the sound quality. And that, to me, is how you judge whether or not a component is worth putting in your system. Does it elevate the performance of the rest of my turntable? And I can say to you, without any shadow of doubt, that the boost in performance of the CS440 is actually quite remarkable. You wouldn't think for 1 minute you're listening to an entry-level turntable. Now, for me, I do like a warm, kind of on the warmish side of a presentation when it comes to listening to music. I know today manufacturers seem to be looking for all-out detail, all-out transparency. And to me, I tend to find it slightly tiring. It might sound impressive on first listen, or it might sound impressive in those first 5 minutes. But I find eventually I start to get a little bit of fatigue coming with such an over-analytical type of sound. I do appreciate, as I say, a more warmer, old analog type of sound. But one of the most important frequencies for me to get right is definitely, without a shadow of doubt, is getting the bass right. Because if you haven't got the bass right, it can spoil the rest of the music. By not getting the bass right, I'm talking about the control of the bass, the flabbiness of the bass, the timing of the bass. As I say, it's very important to me that these aspects of bass are right. And I can say without a shadow of doubt that the XTONEBOX 60p manages to get the bass absolutely spot on. It's just how I like the bass to sound. You can hear what the bass drum is doing. You can hear it stop and start. You know, when the bass drummer's putting his foot on the pedal and it's hitting the bass drum, you can hear that control in the music. You can hear what the bass guitarist is playing. You can follow the lines of his bass guitar. As I say, it's vitally important, and I think the XTONEBOX have got that down to a T of how good it sounds. Also, it's a very organic sounding phono stage, very natural. There's no fatigue in your ear after, I don't know, 5 or 10 minutes. You can carry on listening to it and appreciate how good it is. It's very sweet sounding treble. So it's got that nice retro analog. When we think of analog, the warmth of analog, I think the XTONEBOX have managed to capture that characteristic quite well, and it's very, very nice. So for value for money, the 60p I think is quite remarkable because I've had quite a few phono stages here at Eden Audio over the years, and I can probably count about 5 that really stood out to me as being quite special phono stages. And the first one I can think of was the Creek OBH8. There was an OBH8 SE, but I had the entry level OBH8, and that was just a moving magnet phono stage. Just over £100 that cost back then. So I'm probably going back like 20 odd years. Yeah, it must be 20 years ago now I had that. But again, it was such a lovely, joyous little thing to listen to. Tiny little box, but it was a little box of magic as far as I was concerned, because it was brilliant to listen to. And I moved on from the Creek OBH, and I ended up with a Sonata Sedley. And again, it was probably don't know, probably about 4 times the price of it. I think it was about £500 a steady back then, all those years ago. Again, we're talking 20 odd years ago, and that added more kind of a more spaciousness to the sound, and it was a definite improvement over the Creek. But just kept bringing it forward to more recent times. I've had a brilliant phono stage here from Keith's Audio. That was a 2-box phono stage where you had the sort of phono stage and its power supply. That was just over £600, and that was again another remarkably good sounding phono stage for the money. And another one that I was very, very fond of was by the British manufacturer Aston True. I don't really know what's happened to them in recent years, but they had a phono stage. I can't remember if it was moving magnet or moving core, but it was called the AT8000, and it was about £800, and it actually looked remarkably similar. I think it was black though to the XTONEBOX 60p. That, as I say, that was around about £800 10 years ago. I think that probably came out. And again, that was a very, very good phono stage. As I say, it managed to elevate the turntable and elevate the whole sonic performance of your hi-fi system. Cracking phono stage, I say that was. And this XTONEBOX is batting, without a shadow of doubt, in the same league as that Aston True. It's a remarkably good sounding phono stage, especially for something that's built in Europe. It's not Chinese built. It's built here in Europe. It's built there, as I say, in Spain. It's tremendous value for money, and it's got that magical old school analog sound where it's a richer sound. It's a more relaxing sound. Again, it has got detail. It's got all the detail you could possibly want, in fact. It's got lovely sound stage, lovely texturing, and I say it really does elevate the performance of the turntable that's connected to it. It's a bit of a shame that I haven't actually got more turntable here at Eden Audio, because I've probably only got one, to be honest with you, and that's the Dual. But it would be nice to connect up something more expensive with the XTONEBOX and see sort of how it elevates the performance of a more expensive turntable. I can imagine it being pretty special. In fact, as I say, it's a very, very good, and if you're looking for a phono stage, I'll probably add it to your list of phono stages to listen out for. So it's that good. Now, moving on slightly, I'll just also, while I'm here, like to tell you about some more fantastic new products that very shortly we're going to be having here at Eden Audio. Just giving you a little teaser on them. And the first one is from a budget level speaker brand that I've got here. Now, don't get confused with budget with being a budget sound, because I can assure you the NHT sound anything but budget. Their price doesn't relate to how good they sound. But they've got a new stand mounter coming out very, very shortly. We're going to be expecting that here. I think it's been delayed actually, because it seems to be waiting for it for ages this year, but that's going to be due in very, very shortly. And apart from that, a brand I've been talking about quite a lot, well, just a couple of weeks ago in fact, and that's the brand Orn, call it however you want. I think we all know by now what I'm talking about. Now, I'm not going to give any teasers on this, no spoilers whatsoever, but I can tell you that there's going to be something from Orn that is definitely worth watching out for. Keep your eyes peeled for that one, because it's going to be something very, very special. Take care, everybody. Thanks for watching. Enjoy the rest of your day and keep listening to that music.